Mathieu da Costa is the first recorded free black person in Canada. He was a member of the exploring party of Pierre Duguay, the Sieur de Mont Samuel de Champlain in the early 17th century. There is little documentation about Mathieu da Costa, of at least partial African ancestry. He is known to have been a freeman favored by explorers for his multilingual talents. Numerous mixed-race African Portuguese persons were part of the Atlantic Creole generation, often working as sailors or interpreters. His portfolio of languages is thought to have included Dutch, English, French, Portuguese, Mi'kmaq, and Pidgin Basque, the dialect many Aboriginals used for trading purposes, too. There were three groups of First Nations that the Basque people distinguished. The ones with which they had good relations were the Montaigne and the St. Lawrence Iroquoians. They also knew of the Inuit, whom they considered hostile. The Basque people referred to them as the Montaignes, the Canaleses, and the Esquimaux, respectively. 3. There is controversy as to how da Costa had learned to communicate with Aboriginal peoples. One theory suggested that the North American cultural context of trading centers, with multilingual populations, was very similar to the African trading ports.
This right here also, of course, you'll recognize the top image. That's the Anthon transcript that so well known regarding the story about the sealed portion of the book I Cannot Read by Professor Anthon, of course, coming out of the Old Testament. Here we have the Anthon transcript on the left. Notice the characters in that vertical roll. And now look to the right. The right characters are from what's called the Mi'kmaq Indians, who are also Algonquin, upstate New York into Maine and early lower part of Canada. When the Jesuit priests came into this country, they found the Mi'kmaq writing this language, and this was what's called their symbols. It was identified by Dr. Barry Fell in the 1970s as a form of Egyptian hieratic, and then he also called it Reformed Egyptian of all things. And here's a few characters, 17 compared side by side. They're so very close, they're almost exact. In some cases, a few of them are exact. But here it is in North America, in New England, Algonquin people again, and another parallel for the Book of Mormon, Egyptian hieratic, and we have non-LDS scholars doing the work, and they're actually calling it Reformed Egyptian coming out of North America. Another testament to the Book of Mormon.
numerous mixed-race African Portuguese persons were part of the Atlantic Creole generation, often working as sailors or interpreters. His portfolio of languages is thought to have included Dutch, English, French, Portuguese, Mi'kmaq, and Pidgin Basque, the dialect many Aboriginals used for trading purposes, too. There is controversy as to how da Costa had learned to communicate with Aboriginal peoples. One theory suggested that the North American cultural context of trading centers, with multilingual populations, was very similar to the African trading ports.
Problem is, if it was that simple, why did they need him? Any of the quote-unquote discoverers could have picked up the trade, picked up the language, right? Unless the stories are true. Just saying, think about it, right? How did he know how to speak out of all those language, Mi'kmaq, which the Mormons keep pushing that it is a form of Egyptian. It was Jonah Bay, and they blocked the video so no one could see it. And I wish I could have found out which video he was teaching from, but it was that video where he broke down all the books to get, where he goes into the Melungeons, right? Now the Melungeons, they started doing the DNA test, and it's like, what was it? 9 out of 10 men were tested out of the Melungeon people, and what was it? 9 of the men came back that their DNA was sub-Saharan African. That's where they're trying to push us, right? Then only 1 came back to be Native American, and the women came back to be European. British, Irish, German. I can't think of the last one. But they said because of this, the Portuguese decided not to enslave them. The Portuguese claimed them as their own, but the Native Americans or the Indians said that these people were mixing with the Europeans, and they said you can't live amongst the tribe, and they pushed them off here and said, here's your chunk of land, stay over here. Right? There's your Melungeons, your Tom Hanks, your Elvis Presley, all of them, right? It was that video where he was pointing out that Christopher Colon, when he wanted to speak to the people in the Caribbean, he sent interpreters that spoke Hebrew, Arabic, and Chaldean. It was him that he pointed out in that video where he, it stated that the Mi'kmaq language was a language that relates to Libyan. But we can't get it anymore. It's been blocked because of copyrights. But I just wanted you to see that.